Remember when Samsung promised us 7 years of updates on the S24, but then gave us phones with tiny 128 gigabyte storage that would fill up in like 2 years? Well, looks like someone at Samsung finally got the memo. Not only are they fixing that storage nightmare with the S25, but they're also cooking up some serious cool upgrades that'll make you forget all about those old compromises. From a mind-blowing slim version that puts other thin phones to shame to some crazy camera tech that'll change how we take photos, this is shaping up to be Samsung's biggest upgrade in years. And the best part, every single change actually makes sense for once. Stick with us because we're about to show you why 2025 might be the year Samsung finally gets everything right. Let's kick things off with something that's been driving everyone crazy. Samsung's love affair with 128 gigabyte storage on their base models. Remember trying to take a bunch of 4K videos at your friend's wedding only to get that dreaded storage full message? Well, those days are finally over. Samsung's completely ditching the 128 gigabyte option, making 256 gigabytes the new starting point for the S25. And this isn't just about having more space. We're talking about a serious speed upgrade, too. See, that old 128 gigabyte storage used something called UFS 3.1, which is basically like having a regular hard drive in your phone. But with the switch to 256 gigabytes, every S25 gets the newer UFS 4.0 storage, which is more like having a super fast SSD. This means apps open faster, photos save quicker, and everything just feels snappier. But Samsung didn't stop there. They're throwing in 12 gigabytes of RAM on every single model. That's more memory than some laptops. This is actually a bigger deal than it might seem. With all the AI features phones are getting these days, having more RAM isn't just nice to have, it's becoming essential. Plus, if you're planning to keep your phone for a few years, which makes sense with that 7-year update promise, having extra money means you're ready for whatever new features come along. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Samsung's been working on something called the S25 Slim, and it's absolutely wild what they've managed to pull off. We're talking about a phone that's only 6 to 7 millimeters thick, that's almost half as thick as most phones out there. But here's the crazy part. Unlike other companies that cut features to make their phones thinner, Samsung's keeping all the good stuff. While Apple's reportedly planning a thin iPhone that'll only have one rear camera, Samsung's going all out. The S25 Slim is getting the same flagship cameras as its bigger siblings, the same powerful processor, and all the premium features you'd expect. It's like they looked at everyone else's approach to thin phones and said, nah, we could do better. The only real question mark is the battery. Making a phone this thin while keeping decent battery life is like trying to fit a week's worth of clothes in a tiny backpack. It's tricky. But rumors suggest Samsung's aiming for at least a 4,500 milliampere hour battery, which would be pretty impressive for something this slim. They're only planning to make about 3 million of these at first, so it's clearly a test run. But if people love it, and seriously, who wouldn't want a super thin phone that doesn't compromise? You can bet we'll see more in the future. Moving on to what's under the hood, because this is where things get really exciting. Every S25 model is getting Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, and this thing is an absolute monster. We're talking about performance that doesn't just match the latest iPhone in some cases, it actually beats it. The graphics performance especially is off the charts, which is huge news for mobile gamers. But raw power is only part of the story. This new chip is way smarter about how it uses energy. We're looking at 44% better CPU efficiency and 40% less power drain from the GPU. In real-world terms, this means your phone should last significantly longer on a single charge, even when you're doing heavy tasks like gaming or video editing. Plus, Samsung's working on this cool new Game Assist feature that uses AI upscaling to make games look better while actually running more smoothly. Speaking of smart features, the S25 is also getting satellite connectivity. This means you can send messages even when you're completely off the grid. Super helpful if you're hiking in remote areas or traveling somewhere with spotty coverage. It's not just a gimmick, it could literally be a lifesaver in emergency situations. The camera system on the S25 series is where Samsung's really flexing their technical muscles. The Ultra model especially is getting some serious upgrades, including an improved main sensor, a new 50-megapixel ultra-wide camera up from 12 megapixels, and something really cool, a variable telephoto camera. Think about how regular cameras can zoom smoothly between different focal lengths. That's what Samsung's trying to bring to phones. This variable telephoto system could change how we take zoom photos on phones. Instead of jumping between fixed zoom levels like 3 times and 5 times, you might be able to smoothly zoom to exactly the frame you want. Some rumors even suggest it'll have variable aperture control, like what we've seen on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. This would mean better low-light performance and more control over depth of field. You know, that nice blurry background effect everyone loves. The upgraded ultra-wide camera is a bigger deal than it might seem, too. The new f/1.7 aperture lets in way more light than before, which means better low-light photos and more natural depth of field. Plus, the 50-megapixel sensor uses some clever pixel binning tricks to create super detailed 12.5-megapixel shots that look amazing even in tricky lighting. Here's where we see Samsung's long-term vision coming together. The new One UI 7 interface built on Android 15 isn't just getting a fresh coat of paint, it's getting some serious AI upgrades. Building on what they started with the S24, Samsung's adding even more AI features that actually make sense. We're talking about improved object removal in photos. You know, for those times someone walks through your perfect vacation shot, better scene optimization that actually understands what you're trying to photograph, and some wild new video editing tricks. But perhaps the most interesting part is how Samsung's handling these AI features. Instead of relying on cloud processing for everything, they're using that beefy new processor and extra RAM to do more AI tasks right on your phone. This means faster responses and better privacy since your data doesn't have to leave your device. Plus, there are rumors about Bixby getting some major generative AI upgrades, which could finally make Samsung's virtual assistant actually useful. Let's wrap things up by talking about how all these pieces fit together in Samsung's bigger picture. That 7-year update promise starts making a lot more sense when you look at the hardware they're putting in these phones. The extra RAM, faster storage, and more efficient processor aren't just about making the phone feel fast today. They're about making sure it still feels snappy years from now. Samsung's also working on better integration with their other devices. We're hearing about improved quick share features that work more smoothly with Windows PCs, better tablet connectivity for using your S25 as a second screen, and even some cool new features for Samsung's Galaxy Watch lineup. It's like they're finally delivering on that whole ecosystem promise we've been hearing about for years. Time to wrap this up. The Galaxy S25 series really feels like Samsung's listening to what people actually want. More storage where it matters, better battery efficiency, improved cameras, and meaningful AI features that aren't just gimmicks. Plus, that ultra-slim version shows they can still innovate in ways that actually make sense. Drop a comment below and tell us which feature you're most excited about. Is it the boosted base storage, that crazy thin design, or maybe those new camera features? Hit that like button if you found this helpful, and don't forget to subscribe for more tech coverage. We'll be first in line to test all these features when the phone launches. See you in the next one.